And good afternoon. Welcome to Vibrations, where we're creating new waves for opportunity. I'm here with Jess, who's going to introduce two of our new and exciting members that are going to be a wonderful contribution to the conversation here with Vibrations. So Jess, who have we got here?
Hey guys, Jess here. We've got Kat. So Kat's a really good friend of myself and Dave's. She's up to massive stuff in the world. She's the forefront of consciousness as we know it, doing a lot of access consciousness and some really deep breath work. So she's facilitating this sort of stuff all over Perth. She's also an intuitive coach, so we'll find out a little bit more about that later in the show. But yeah, do you want to say g'day? Quick g'day.
Absolutely. Thanks for such an awesome introduction, Jess.
You're most welcome.
And thanks for inviting me on, Dave, as well. We're really grateful. And also to have Freya here as well. It's a great team. And so, yeah, really excited to talk more about all things consciousness and how to really shift reality and take things up a notch. I think we're all ready for it, right?
Absolutely.
Hungry for that.
And welcome.
Yeah, and also welcome Freya. So Freya's come all the way from Fremantle. She's shifting consciousness on a whole different playing field, doing a lot of spiritual development in multiple areas, crystal dreaming, all kinds of unusual things. But yeah, we've got her here on our show, and it's a pleasure to have you here, Freya. Thanks for being part of the space.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. So, yeah, I'm from Earth Heart in Fremantle. And yeah, we have all sorts of different programs, lots of learning about our energy fields. We have lots of shamanic journeying, that's the crystal dreaming, everything you can think of in all directions, communicating with plants, communicating with animals, everything.
What
Love
an
it.
honor. Brilliant.
Sounds cool.
That was a way better intro. You took the cake. I did you no justice.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Look, and I just want to give a shout out to Zana, who's the fifth member of the team. Unfortunately, she's just unwell today, but we're feeling her spirit and we're giving out positive energy so that she can join us again next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, blessings, Anna.
So, look, what surfaced for me at the moment, as you're all aware, if you've been in the listening of this, that I'm in the creation of a movement that is focused on raising the vibration of the human condition, and I know I mentioned it last time, but what I'm really conscious of, and I'd love your contribution, ladies, is that Human Being Day in its beauty requires a different kind of listening, and what I hadn't been conscious to was just how it was going to land in the space of the human condition. And I know that for the listeners out there, some of you may find that a little esoterical and sort of unicorns and rainbows and fluffy clouds and stuff. And what that really means when it raises the vibration is just how we consider ourselves and bringing a consciousness to the way that we are actually impacting not only other people and also how we're impacted ourselves. And so what I realized is that a day when I suggested Human Being Day, or when I was in the creation of that, what I realized is that everyone that I've spoken to kept going, so where's the event? What's going to happen? And I realized that that my idea of it was that it was related to happy birthday, and that what we do on a birthday is we create the celebration for the person who's celebrating their birthday. And so when it came to Human Being Day, I tried to relate it to the same space so that people would create that same consciousness unified, so that we all get to be in that space. And what I realized is that's still, people want a wee bit of direction in that space. So I know I've mentioned to each of you, and I'd actually really love you. What I'm actually suggesting is, because 22nd of October, which was my mother's birthday, rest in peace, and so honoured that she's given me this space to be able to create this opportunity, and that 11/11 is 22, and so 11/11 is when Human Being Day kicks off. So what I'm a stand for is that we all set our alarms for 10 past 11 and have it ready so that we get to be in the opportunity of just 1 minute rather. Like we offer a minute of silence to honour those that have gone before us, those that have passed. And so what I'd love to consider is, excuse me, that's my phone, is how we could really connect having that minute silence and what's really possible in that space when people, because I would love nothing more than for the world to stop wherever the 22nd of October stops for them at 11:11, so it will be like a domino effect around the world, to stop and take check and acknowledge the miracle that they are, to really acknowledge that out of the 4 trillion to 1 chances of actually being birthed on this earth, that it was you, it was you. And then what I'm really interested in is what would be in the space for you in that 11:11 that may connect to our listeners.
Fred, do you want to lead that?
Sure. It's really interesting that we're chatting about this because in the last week and a half, I had the privilege of doing an interview with respected elder Uncle Noel Nanup. Now, Uncle Noel, he's a doctor. He has a lot of input into the Perth City Council. He also does things like Aboriginal astronomy up at the Gin Observatory. And he takes people out on country. It was really interesting because we were chatting about community. We're very people related, you know. That was what I went with the idea that I was going to be chatting with him about. And when we got there and sat down at Wireless Hill Park, I asked him a couple of questions and he started to share. And it's a really interesting experience sitting with an elder because the next thing you know, you've been transported out of your mind and out of your ego vehicle and out of even the concept of time. And you suddenly find yourself in a space where you're one with that experience, that person, and with the nature around you. So his whole conversation about what is community was about the relationship between the plants and the trees, the animals, the microbial-organisms that are in the earth, how the sunshine, hits the earth, and then from winter they start competing, and then all of the seeds start to spring. And he took me out into the country and showed me how that underneath the she oak trees, there's a community of different orchids that only grow under those she oak trees. So without them, it isn't possible. Without the she oak trees, it isn't possible to have the orchids. So suddenly, I found myself in a space where I was considering, what does it actually mean to be a human being? And what is my connection as a human being, not only to other human beings, but to life itself? So, yeah.
Absolutely love what you said, Freya. I think that's delicious. I think it's so true that when you think about Human Being Day, it's so much more than that. And I think we definitely owe it to ourselves and to each other that we have a responsibility for all of creation and to be stewards of the earth. So, when you were asking about ideas, Dave, I had a couple. One of which being, to maybe be dancing, I think there's such a disconnection most people have to their bodies, and we're so disconnected from the earth and the environment and from each other. So, it's a beautiful guy I listened to, this shaman, who's really interesting, and he was talking about when you dance, you can actually send positive energy to people that are sick, people that are struggling, people that are having difficulty, even to the earth itself. You can actually direct that beautiful energy you have of celebration, like celebrating happy birth, like a birthday where you celebrate humans, celebrate creation, and just send energy to anything positive energy to anything that's struggling, whether it be the Amazon that's been on fire, whatever it is. We have the power to make such a big difference. And I think we're just like infants when it comes to really the possibilities that exist. Like there's so much more growth that can happen, so much more joy that can be shared. So I think it's just a great beginning. So whether it be dancing, whether it be just sitting still in that minute of being grateful for what you have, grateful for people that are in your life, like you guys today, that can be a huge contribution. But literally the power of our energy is so underestimated. So yeah, definitely that connection is so critical, and celebrating that. So beautiful what you said, Freya.
Oh yeah,
Likewise,
together.
Kat.
Yeah,
Likewise.
I really got a different sense of what's possible in the day, and it just keeps layering, and that's what's really important for me, is that we adopt this. I know that I had the blessing of being the creator of it. That was a wonderful blessing that was afforded to me and gifted to me, and I have a responsibility to be able to be the contribution to that by putting it out there. And I'm so blessed to have you guys being in the space of creation with it, that allows for the layers that are necessary for people to get it.
Layers of the birthday cake.
Yeah, that's right.
Very sweet.
And what about you, Jess? What have you got in the space?
I really liked, Kat, I really liked your contribution where you said, well, we're almost like infants. So if we just rediscover the human being concept as an infant, as a newborn, no judgment, just complete neutral position, and I guess really start to discover what it is that we want to do as human beings together and by ourselves as well.
Yeah.
And I guess that could perpetuate a conversation leading up to the 22nd. And I guess the stand I want to be is that every person that's listening to this podcast right now, that they take that time to have that conversation with their friends, to find out what it is that they'd like to do together or by themselves, and start mapping that out by the 22nd. So if each person that's listening to this very podcast could just have that have that conversation powerfully with 11 other people, or even 22. Let's aim for 22. If we get 11, that's great.
Beautiful action.
And then create that with those people, and do it powerfully. Do it in such a way that you guys are all showing up. You're all being that human being that you want to be on that day, and doing whatever. If it's dancing, dance. If it's learning about nature and being in nature and meditating, do that. It's just like, what else is possible, you know?
That's right.
And I think if we all take that stand of just at least getting 11 people together to celebrate this and to be aware of this day, or to plug into this podcast and hear about it prior to.
Absolutely.
That would be magic.
And
absolutely. That's my contribution. I'd love
Thank
for
you.
people to get in action.
Yeah, get in action. And sometimes that just requires, and it's very, sometimes where we're coming from in this creation is that what we don't want to do is to be in the direction of how this day looks. We're in the creation of a conversation that is necessary to be able to be in the causing of this. And so why we have this beautiful union of incredible healers here is that it works that we all agree that what we hear on the waves is what we hear on the waves, and what we're creating on the waves is just something that we felt was missing, or the gap that was missing in what was available for us. And so we just thought, because we do this in our own homes, we do this with our own clients, that this was a wonderful platform for us to exaggerate or to
Ignite.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also think it's really interesting that the very first thing that you said, Dave, is and what I'd like to suggest to our viewers to consider is that Dave said we need to stop for 1 minute. So to me, that sounds like most of the time we're human doings.
Beautiful.
So what does it mean to be a being?
And to be.
Okay, well let's just come back to some conversation after. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with you. Thanks for listening to
when
Vibrations.
are you going to do the lawn? I can't even see the kids out there.
I'm busy.
Fine, I'm calling Country Style Grass Perth.
Okay, babe.
For all your landscaping and gardening needs, call Country Style Grass Perth today on 0448 924 395, or find them on Facebook by searching Country Style Grass Perth. That's Country Style Grass Perth on 0448 924 395, or message them on Facebook.
The Kangan Revolution.
If you've been impacted by sickness and you want to experience some life, good health, and you want it organically, call the Kangan Revolution. Try some Kangan water today for yourself. Nathan's number is 0474 230 195.
We revolutionise your life, starting with the water that you drink.
Water to optimize your mind, body, and soul.
That number again is 0474 230 195.
The Kangan Revolution provides you with the best water on the planet to activate your cells for superior health. Be happy, be healthy, and be free. The Kangan Revolution. Revolution.
I wonder when I'm 83, won't people still be judging? Looking at the world, I'm feeling like they never loved. And wandering the darkness, lost out in the forest, always on my mind. I wonder when I'm 83, will I be in the oven? Distant memories will turn to dust and they're forgotten. Wandering the darkness, lost out in the forest, always on my mind. Ooh, darling, as the time goes past, will you hold my hand goodnight? Ooh, darling, will you remember my face? Let the memories fade. I'm just a ghost. I'm just a ghost. Remember when I was a kid, my day was filled with fun things. Had a couple friends and we would play till it was Sunday. Smiling in the morning, nothing was important, always on my mind. Remember when I was a kid, she told me that she loved me, held me in her arms, she made me feel I was somebody. Wandering the darkness, lost out in the forest, always on my mind. Ooh, darling, as the time goes past, will you hold my hand goodnight? Ooh, darling, will you remember my face? Let the memories fade. I'm just a ghost. I'm just a ghost. It's okay, leave my body here too late. I've got nothing left to say. In my heart you've got a place if you don't forget me. Oh, darling, as the time goes past, will you hold my hand goodnight? Oh, darling, remember my face. I'm just a ghost. Leave my body here too late. I've got nothing left to say. In my heart you've got a place if you don't forget me. I'm just a ghost.
They chop and stop before I even start it all. So I get up and fly before my time is up. Yo, it's all in me and you. So be loud, loud. It's a new era. La 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 la. I won't be listening no more. La 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 la. Watch me do what I want. La 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 la. I won't be listening no more. La 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 la. They say I'm moving, but steering wrong. They say good girls settle down. Try to explain, I'm not the same. What if I don't want what they want? They chop and stop before I even start it all. So I get up and fly before my time is up. Yo, it's all in me and you. So be loud, loud. It's a new era. La 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 la. I won't be listening no more. La 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 la. Watch me do what I want. La 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 la. I won't be listening no more. La 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 la. I'm gonna surf in a Galaxy, drinks in New York, go on trips that I can't afford. I wanna live, 'cause what's guaranteed? Only what we choose to be. They chop and stop before I
vibrations. Look, we just wanted to touch base on what we were talking about before about Human Being Day, and just what sat in the space for us in discussion in the break there was that we felt like I know that I'm a bit like that in the space, and we discussed that most of us sort of feel that sometimes just a little bit of framing, a few ideas, just help us move ourselves in a direction that really honours the movement. So Kat's going to take us away with just some thoughts that she had on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes I know just being in that space of creativity, I think when you start discussing ideas, often for me anyway, it sparks lots more ideas to add to that. And so I think it's such a wonderful concept that you've created and birthed here with Human Being Day, Dave. So it was just maybe, talking to each other right now and engaging in just some ideas that people might not have thought of that might give them some more, a bit more of a framework to see how they can celebrate and be a part of this wonderful movement that you've created, Dave. So anyone want to jump in with what their ideas are? How would they like to celebrate? I mean, it's one thing to celebrate in the moment, right, in the minute.
Yeah.
But really it's something to I guess have as a focus for the year ahead, really, isn't it, Dave?
That's right. And what's possible in the space in the lead up is just what I've been really mindful of is repurposing rather than trying to create a marketable process in it. So I really am conscious of this being an organic growth that happens naturally, and the vibration will rise as we are conscious to the idea of it anyway. And so what surfaced for me and what I've done at home is the colour for Human Being Day is orange. And what sits in the space for me is there is a real opportunity, rather than throwing out pamphlets or doing anything that might impact the environment, is just in the facade of your home, where you are, just to be in the demonstration of support for this movement. What's possible is just getting a marker and writing HBD 22-10 on your window, and then just hanging a t-shirt or a scarf or something orange. And that just conveys to your neighbours, to everyone else, that you're in the knowing of this consciousness, and also that you're in the sharing of celebrating that, so that others can see that. And it will create a slow ripple effect, and that consciousness will just bring about a new vibration for us, which is what this is all about.
Dave, you've got me on fire. I love that idea. I love that so much. It's really about the solidarity.
That's it.
And I'd say too, in terms of, hashtags in social media, like creating hashtag HBD, hashtag Human Being Day, and just expressing, for me, what came to you when you expressed that idea, I love this, like it's just a chain reaction, was people doing different projects around the world, doing different things where maybe it's just, sparking that thing about doing 3 kind gestures to people each day and then filming the video of that. So if you just did something nice, or, you can then film it and then have that human being express to you, how they felt, or thank you or whatever. And I think it starts to shift the focus that we have, these days of watching news, watching all these different things, is to just have that human connection being the primary focus. We focus on the economy, we focus on money, we focus on employment, all these other valuable things, but we often forget that it's all about people, like what's underpinning all these different things that we focus on. It's about human beings. We've lost sight of the wood for the trees, right?
Yeah, we have a habit of compartmentalizing things and creating sectors and so on, and we forget, because we think, we have people employed in those sectors to take care of that thing. So we kind of like wipe that out of our brain and think that that's somebody else's responsibility. And actually, it's all connected. And so it's us grassroots. So how it is, for example, it was my birthday some months back, and I stopped and I was like, what do I actually want to do today? And in sitting in that space, Mum was like, shall I take you out for lunch? I said, actually, I'd just like to plant the seedlings.
Wow.
And that was what did it for me. But it was not what my mind thought I wanted to do. It was it was something that arose when I took that moment of quiet.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that, Freya.
And in the world of social media, and what was beautiful in the contribution of Human Being Day when I first started with it was people started doing little videos, little Facebook Facebook Lives, and what they were doing was just going what it was, what being a human being meant to them, and then they concluded it with "I'm a human being," and that really just consolidated that human being element of their thought process and what it was, and it was beautiful. And so I just kept posting that.
So wouldn't that be a great thing to do? Take that moment and spend that with yourself, and then do a really quick little video and post it up.
Beautiful.
That'd be lovely.
Yeah, that's it. I think that sounds beautiful. Definitely, it's really just, I think it's really focusing on what we're here to experience. Like, we, against all odds, made it here on planet Earth to have this human experience. And so what are you here for? Sure, you're here to pay bills and but that's not enough to fill your cup up and for you to be joyful. Like, I think often too, when you connect with artists, they're just in love with the creativity and self-expression and so on. And I know how much your heart was moved by a piece of poetry that we're going to share in upcoming episodes. But it's just really about that importance of touching the heart, touching the soul. And even in media, I think there's so much, it's almost become like junk food for me. When I look at the media landscape out there, it's all about just the artificial, like the no substance. It's just about the appearances. Okay, there's a beautiful woman, let's just focus on her appearance and almost hollow her out from the middle, where we don't focus on what else has she got to offer. Like, what does her soul have to express? Is she connecting with someone, or is it all about how good she looks? Like, I think it's great. It's interesting in the selfie thing, how we're all taking selfies of each other and, of ourselves and putting that out there. And, that serves its purpose. But then it's like, let's go a little bit deeper. We can still have fun and laugh, but let's go a little bit deeper. Like, what actually feels good? Not only what looks good, but what feels good. And I think that's relatable too in relationships, like we're doing the whole swipe left, swipe right when we're dating. Sure, someone might look good, but do they make you feel good? How do you feel when you leave that person? I'm not sure what you guys want to add to that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I can feel that, and what's possible in that space if you step outside of it, the conditioning, because it is the human condition that has us in that, and so it really is the question: what's possible? What can I achieve outside of the conditions that I have right now? And it's like, if our listeners can just imagine that we're in a hula hoop and that it's sitting there, and if what's possible, if you just take a step beside it, you can still hold on to that hula hoop. The hula hoop's right there. Jump right back in when it's safe. But if you just sit out there, it's amazing it's like being on a mountaintop and walking closer and closer to the cliff face. What I love to do, and the analogy that I live in, is that I'm jumping, I'm leaping. There's no abseil, there's no nothing, and I'm really, really committed to the knowledge that when it comes to the ground, I've got this, and I'm going to land in the space in ease and glory. So I think, just be in the space of what's possible. I'm not saying, please listeners, that you need to go and jump off cliffs and stuff like that.
Nice to put that in there. Yeah. Nice caveat. Yeah.
Waivers, we're going to say.
Yeah, that's it. But I just
jump
think
into life, Dave. I think it's the analogy
of
jumping in with both feet and not looking just at the picture of and the conditioning. I think it's so much a picture we have and we're given, especially through media, of what we should be doing, and it's often commercially based, and that's fine. It serves a purpose. It circulates money at the end of the day. But then it's looking deeper into paint your own picture. What is it that really sparks all your synapses off and makes you feel alive? So I love what you were talking about with that.
Yeah, because it's really easy for us to sit in our comfort zone.
Yeah, beautiful.
Very, very easy for us to sit there and everything's comfortable there, but we may not actually be really very comfortable. We might be used to our pain, whatever that is, the mundaneness of our life. And that comfort zone, it's not actually comfortable to step outside of it, but that's actually where the growth is, and where all the excitement and the joy and the magic and the miracle, and just being able to stand on that edge of possibility with the unlimited potentiality of all of creation.
Oh, beautiful.
And then to learn to draw from that to you exactly what it is that your heart and your spirit desires to experience.
Beautiful.
Gives me tingles.
Yeah, doesn't it feel good? Yeah. And look, I'm clear that there are already beautiful leaders out there that have a responsibility for educating, that have the responsibility of managing numbers of people. So what's possible in the space of leadership or the space of guidance and that? Like I think coming from an education and management background, what sits in the space for me is the opportunity. Children, that essence, that beauty, that freedom of expression. What would be possible if we asked the question, what does it mean to be a human being to you? And what do you want it to look like as you progress through? And what's coming up for you as a human being? And if we can bring ourselves into the positive consciousness chat, what's possible in a space of a classroom if we all got together as a classroom and discussed the things that are coming up for different people? Because on the surface, we've got bullying, we've got all these kinds of things, but we never go further than that. We just punish, and the kids are sent down to the principal's office, or they're sent into the naughty corner. And what's possible if we just sit down and be in the discussion? Okay, so little Toby, this has been something that's coming up for you. We're seeing this. How do we all feel about this space? How does it feel for you? What is possible in the support rather than the stigma? Yeah. And so I really think that children have the power of creating what we may be limited because of the human condition. They have the power of making this. I know that some of the children that are at a school that are really into creating this day, it's not in my, it'll come, running around with a piece of chalk each for each of the children and writing HBD 2210 on the floor. It's a beautiful way of expressing the information, and it washes away. It's not going to harm anyone. So it's lovely. Yeah. So there are real opportunities, and throw this at the kids, because I tell you what, they'll come up with magic with this. Because
drawing is a really, really fabulous concept. We do a lot of writing. Drawing, even if it doesn't matter if we're good at it or not, what's interesting about the word and the energy of the word is that when you draw, like in the old days, you draw water. So what you would do is you would use a pump to pull water up out of a well. So you had to actually pull it towards you. Mm-hmm. And so the action of drawing is actually pulling to you what it is that you wish to experience.
Beautiful.
So that's a really nice way for anyone, children and big inner children like me.
I think that speaks for all of us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think kids could really take this next level. I was just thinking, like, all the filters that we take on throughout our entire life and the things that we make things mean and all of that kind of stuff. And the kids just don't have that. They're like a free space. So that's my second contribution for today. If you are listening and you want to really step into the space of being in Human Being Day and being that, talk to the kids about it. Like, how many kids can we enroll in this possibility? And how susceptible are kids to new opportunities that are completely different, completely strange, and not the norm?
I love that.
That's great. Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah.
I think kids are such a great conclusion, and I think you are such a big kid, Jess. That's why I love you so much. As I think all of us are big kids. But yeah, I think kids will be great. Kids will be a great addition to this amazing movement.
Well, take that with you, listeners, and look, we'll be right back with some more conversation around what's possible in raising the vibrations. Thanks for listening.
Oh, he wants more?
Don't be so shy. In dreams together, in times anew, a life's journey is waiting for you. Let's wait until it's midnight. Let's wait until the time is right. Let's wait until the stars You got emerald eyes. Let your hair fall by your side. Hands together, our smile so wide. To walk life's journey side by side. Let's wait until it's midnight. Let's wait until the time is right. Let's wait and see the moonlight now in your eyes. Emerald eyes lay by my side. Emerald eyes, don't be denied. Hands together, our smile so wide. We walk life's journey side by side. Let's wait until it's midnight. Let's wait until the time is right. Let's wait until the stars can shine in your bright eyes. Let's wait until it's midnight. Let's wait until the time is right. Let's wait and see the moonlight now in your eyes. Emerald eyes. Don't be so shy.
Oh, and welcome.
We are back.
So we have been having a couple of technical issues, but don't worry about that. We're all back and flying on life. And sorry, that was just me, probably. we all run on a time clock that isn't the one. It's very much a freckle on my wrist and a bangle on the other. So I don't have the conventional standards. I'm great under the sun because I can usually tell where the time sits. but
And I don't have any directional sense, so that's a bit of a concern.
no, it's love and beautiful. Yeah, it's all good. Anyway, welcome back to Vibrations. So we were talking about the possibilities for what, or talking about what's possible in the creation of sharing, the creation of informing others about this beautiful opportunity for all of us. And I really am sitting in and look, I want to restore for all those that have heard about this before in my sharing of it, because I got all caught up in the ego of it, and my fear was around the egotistical space of it being mine, and the weight of me being the creator of something so big and so beautiful. And I'm clear that it isn't actually mine. The creation is all of the wonderful people that have been a contribution to my life. So yeah. So what I'm clear about is that all those people that are going to get this, and I'm going to be really in the action of ensuring that everybody gets to be in the listening of this space. When you get to listen to this podcast, this is my gratitude accelerated and exaggerated to thank you so much for the contribution that you've been in my life and for the contribution you're going to be in my life.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
I loved you saying that, Dave. I think it's an easy way for anything. Creating a space like this movement, this is something that contributes to all of us. And that's where we sometimes get so caught up and so hung up on how am I going to appear and what, we just get caught up and let ourselves get in the way. And I love the fact that you're very vulnerable, Dave, in terms of just sharing, the fact that, sometimes you have to have those corrections of thought where you go, hang on, just move into a different space, come from the place of the contribution it is, and then let that guide you. So get a sense of the energy, like you've chosen to create this idea has come to you. And so then it's like, okay, so get a sense of what energy it can contribute. And even today, I'm actually going to do a Facebook Live on this, but just around our choices. Like when you think of something, you already have an idea of the future that's going to create. And that's where we can really get active with our creative capacities. Like when you think of someone, does it make you feel lighter? Do you feel happy about thinking about that experience? That's already showing you and guiding you the way to move forward in your life that's going to be more magical and more fun. Yes. So everything you think, everything you do, everything you say is creating. And it's either going to be in a positive creation force or it's going to be a negative one where it's destroying. So what are you going to be, a creator or a destroyer? Sometimes destruction is necessary to birth new things. In the forest, the trees have to fall to create new life. But also just being aware of what have you created in your life. Take a moment to take stock of the relationships you've had, the people whose lives you've touched in both a negative and a positive way. So I think as Human Being Day, that's another element. There's so many different elements that fly in my mind when you start talking. I'm like thinking about this angle and another angle. So, but yeah, really looking at your creative capacities. Are you utilizing them, or what are you doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are you being?
Yeah. Who are you being? Yeah.
Who are you being? Exactly.
Yeah. Brilliant. So, sorry.
No, you're right. I was just saying, I love that. I love that you would just openly restore as well. Like that takes a lot for someone to be digging so deep into the day and into humans, like outside of oneself. And you know what? All that means is that we now have this opportunity to even more so share this podcast to those people who we have created, or who you have created Human Being Day with, that maybe haven't got this understanding of it.
Yeah.
And like,
right.
How much in action can we be over the next week before our next podcast to getting this out to the people that we've already spoke about Human Being Human Being Day too.
Yeah, perfect.
The linguistic specialist just had a whoopsie.
Perfect. So, well, look, I think that we've really created the platform for people to be in the discovery for themselves. And really that just reiterates, and we're going to continue to be in that space around creating self-reflection, go into the core, which is the fundamental, the first pillar of the foundations of Human Being Day and the bridge of positive consciousness. And that is core calibration, core reflection, core looking at what it is to be a human being, who you are as a human being, how you impact on the world, and what is impacting you, and bringing to a consciousness the conditioning that we have and how we exist in the world, and what the world is creating for us to be in.
And that's really interesting, because that brings me back to something we were chatting about in the break, and how it is that you actually came to the concept of opportunity with the O in the Human Being Day. Can you share a bit more about that?
Yeah, so look, the ebbs and flows of life have had their joys, and they've had some real pulling space for me, and it's had me really question my value and as a human being on the planet, and there's been times where I haven't felt like I've been in the honor of what was possible for me, and I took and I was in the space of just where I really felt like I was out of control. So the only control that I felt that I had at my disposal was to exit and to leave this body and to see what was possible in another life. And what I really got present to was that wasn't possible, or that wasn't my calling, or that wasn't, because it didn't matter on what level I took that to. My body decided that it was here to stay. And so in that space, what it really created for me was, well, I'm here now, then what's possible now? And
would you say, Dave, that's ground zero for you?
Ground zero. Yeah. And so what happened in that space, getting to that, sorry, and I do digress, and the girls keep me back on track.
We got you quiet.
Yeah, you got my back. Yeah. And so what happened in the spaces when I was really low, and even at the point where I was without a home, is that I had the idea that I had collapsed O and 0. So when people would say my phone number is 0420 and consider, I got really triggered by that, because I was like, that's just not correct. It's a 0, it's not an O. And in reflection, because of my understanding of 0 being nothing at the time, and that it needed a numeral before it to have any value, when I hit ground 0, I realized that 0 it was actually, the collapse thing was beautiful and perfect as it was in the human condition, because that 0 turned into an O, turned into a 0, turned into an O, and that O for me represented opportunity. And then what showed up when I realized that O sat for opportunity is that all of the powerful words that really sit and resonated for me showed up with an O in them. And then as I was informed, when we talk about, I really saw that often really powerful words had the C in front of it, and the C and the O were almost like partners in crime, and they're almost the
Partners
same.
in creation.
And partners in creation. And of course, what you mentioned before is that the C is the I without the...
It's like looking at an eyeball sideways, and you've got the iris is the part of the C that has no space, so it's the implied line. It's really interesting too, but the concept of 0, and so coming back to what it is that society has created for us to grow into. So the Gnostics, that's a very ancient tradition. They are a philosophy, and they have a philosophy about number and value. And I think it's really interesting when we start to consider our value as a unit of unity.
Beautiful.
So the Gnostics didn't have a 0. 0 is something that was created much, much later on. It was sort of around the time that money came in. So,
The Matrix.
The Matrix, yes, we're back to the Matrix movie. It's a true story.
Is that allowed, Russell?
So there's when the Gnostics write numbers, if you were to think of, say, a capital I and a lowercase I as the 1, so they would put a big 1 with a little angle off it, so just like a 1, and then they draw another 1 next to it, much smaller, like a fifth of the size. So that was the big 1 was the beginning of number, and that 1 represented everything, all, unity.
Yeah, right.
And then the little 1 was a unit of unity.
Sounds like a very particular law, the law of divine oneness.
Well, exactly. And that's exactly what they were right. But that's exactly what they were drawing to and speaking to.
Wow.
Beautiful.
And so then 2 and 3 and so on, all the way up to 9. And the reason that there is only 9 numbers is because that's the maximum number of angles that you can get. So if you were to Google, say, something like angelic numbers or something like, no, that's, you're going to get a lot of Doreen virtue. Namaste, Doreen, we love you. But there is an ancient language which shows the actual angles that comes from an ancient angelic tradition. So it shows you that you can only go to 9. It's about the golden mean and the number of angles that you can get within that. Now, at that point, numbers stop. So if you were to look out in the world, you'll see numbers 1 to 9 and this thing called a 0 that is put with everything, right? But there was...
computers need.
Yeah, there was.
Ones and zeros.
That's right. There was no 0. But when they got to the end of the number of angles, then they're like, right, so how do we make this practical so that we can then have a system? So then they put a little 1, a unit, and then they created the circle. Notice I didn't say 0 or O. It's a circle, and that circle is another way of describing unity. It's saying little unit and all of that. Right.
And that fits so powerfully in you've each been in my home, and you'll see so often that the circle shows up, and that wasn't a conscious effort. It is now But what shows up?
Rolling the towels in a circle, putting it in a circle rack. It's everywhere. The wine rack in the shape of a fishy.
All of creation right there.
I think that's an awesome clue, Freya. Like, I think that's really awesome that you're touching on this, because I think at the end of the day, this is all about energy, creation, and design, and divine design as well. And that's what this is, a really interesting concept. And I know so many brains are going to be like, spirits are going to be lighting up right now, because this is what it's all about. It's about the feminine principle, which is often represented by the circle.
Yes.
And then it's also about the masculine principle, which is then represented by the line. So it's really looking at that energy. It's got to have, it's going somewhere. Like when you think about light or energy in some form, it's moving in a direction. And often that's to do with the masculine principle of getting somewhere and input. You know, even related to the sexual organs of the body, the man has input into the woman, which is that womb, which is that circle. So you're really looking at sparking divine illumination here. That's what I get from what you're saying. And so that's a whole other element. This is just the beginning. Like, this is just so big and so exciting.
Which leads me to another really interesting point. Just if we haven't popped your brains enough, let's just go one more level up. Let's go.
Beautiful.
So if we come to the language of geometry, and we start with the circle, all right, so that's a one-sided, we're talking two-dimensional, right? Okay, so one-sided shape. And then we jump to a three-sided shape, which is the equilateral triangle. Then we go to the square and so on. Do you notice that we're missing one? 1 to 3.
The round one.
Two.
What? Yeah, two. What's a two-sided, equisided shape? And why are we not taught about that?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually called a vesica Pisces.
Wow.
You're turning me on here, Freya.
Funny you should say that, because it's also the shape. It's like if you were to think about an eye, right, and how it has the point at each side, and then you have the two like curved sides.
Yeah.
That's actually what the vesica Pisces is, and it is the portion of two circles overlapped.
Yeah, great.
And so that is a creation.
The symbol has the tail.
Yeah.
Like just a little bit sticking
Correct.
out.
That's right. Or in Christianity, they have the fish, right, with the tail. So that's just the one side of it. But what's interesting is that those two circles of all of creation, when you overlap them, same as if you were to create a child, it creates a doorway of possibility.
Love it.
Wow.
We've blown our own minds tonight. That's what's possible when we all come together.
That's it. So I think it's really interesting that that's not part of our education, our current education system.
Very interesting.
Absolutely. And that's another conversation in itself, the education system.
We have a teacher in the house.
It's interesting.
Massively interesting. Massively interesting.
Principle
That's very cool.
behind the mic.
But sometimes it's, they talk about the ancient symbol of the soul is symbols. It is
Yes.
symbols. It's very much, you look at hieroglyphics in Egypt. So it's really about what that triggers off in the human mind and spirit. So we're at the forefront of this kind of stuff, It's really like old is becoming new again. We're coming full circle to add to all the elements we're talking about today.
Yeah, because as we start to realize that we've had these concepts of zero. Now, zero doesn't exist, right? So you can have no thing, as in there is no physical item or there is no idea or something, but it's still not zero. Because that's an absence of. And if you were to look around anywhere, there's always something. Doesn't matter how far you go out in creation, there's not nothing. Right?
Absolutely.
So it's a concept that is a very clever construct towards keeping consciousness in a framework and in a pathway. And because we believe that that's true, then we start to think that it's impossible. That's when we plug into that stuff. As soon as we start to go, hang on a second, that zero thing's not real. It is all circle and is all of creation and unlimited
world,
possibility and potentiality.
Infiniteness.
Yeah. That's where we
Wow.
come back into our power.
Me too.
That's like the point of view creates reality. Like your belief system creates your whole entire reality.
And it isn't that low vibration that that had me in that space of thinking that I had nothing. And it's interesting that there's a lot of research in that suggests that because you're in that vibration, your IQ is lowered quite considerably. And they did test studies on an area. And again, the space eludes me, but just to paraphrase what it was, the concept, it was they had workers that would only work for 5 months of the year, and during that time they were incredibly affluent, and so their vibrations and their conversations and their intellect and IQ was considerably higher than the time when they were having to manage their money and struggling, and especially at the point where they were exhausting their funds and at the lower vibration of it before they got to the next part. And despite knowing that there was an opportunity ahead of them that was going to bring them back into the space, it still kept their IQ low. So it does suggest that when we're out there and we're in the space of judgment, and we're in the space of looking at those that are really struggling to connect with who they are as human beings, given whatever has them in the space that they're in, and it is a lot. We see an overrepresentation of my cousins, the beautiful Aboriginal people that are here, that are allowing for me to be in the space here at the moment and reside in this country. And I'm really clear that there's a real opportunity for us to just to let go of the shame of how we've been and be a contribution in a different way. And so what is possible in that space of looking at other human beings that are just stuck in a loop that has them in a loop, and rather than, like I hear so often, I pay my taxes and they're getting all their money and stuff. Look, once you're in the space of smoking and drinking and drugs, it's so hard, and I'm going to be really forward and transparent with my journey. I was right there in the thick of that, and I did not see that there was a possibility beyond where I was at. My default had me return to that space. And so I'm clear that I'm in a very, very different headspace, but I will not forget where I've been and what I've been through, and those beautiful people that I've met along the journey.
Absolutely.
Because we're interdependent, interconnected.
We are.
Absolutely.
And we're not determined by a monetary value
That's
assigned to
right.
us. And I get that was really a trigger for you. And when you lost everything and then feeling like you were then worth nothing, that's what, perhaps was what sparked your human spirit to go, well, F you.
Yeah.
Well, like I'm more than a number.
Yeah.
I'm more than a number. I'm a human being.
Yeah.
That ignited it, and I guess that's really the contribution that you've shared so deeply with your mum being part of this day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the fiery side of David that is my exact reflection. And when I look at him angry, I'm just like, wow, I get like that. That's me.
Fired up.
That's it. So there's me on a platter. Okay, right, we're just going to take a quick break now. Thank you again for your contribution and the listening, and I look forward to seeing how this transpires in the vibrations of our condition out there in the world.
Kangan Revolution.
If you've been impacted by sickness and you want to experience some life, good health, and you want it organically, call the Kangan Revolution. Try some Kangan water today for yourself. Nathan's number is 0474 230 195.
We revolutionise your life, starting with the water that you drink. Water to optimise your mind, body and soul.
That number again is 0474 230 195.
The Kangan Revolution provides you with the best water on the planet to activate your cells for superior health. Be happy, be healthy, and be free. The Kangan Revolution. Revolution.
I've tried to give up cigarettes before and ended up really hanging out for a smoke. This time it was easy. You're a miracle worker, Pete.
I wanted to stop smoking. Had a session with Peter, and with his help I stopped smoking. No fuss, no bother, no bull. I'm very happy.
Now I can go to the pub with my friends and not feel a need to smoke.
Peter, I still haven't had a smoke since the day I saw you in June 2004. And I don't feel like one either. More smokers should do what I did and give it away.
Those are just a few of the comments from smokers who've quit tobacco smoking without any withdrawal pains with Peter Zapfella at www.skypetherapy.pro. You can quit cigarettes without any nicotine withdrawals in just one easy online session. Available worldwide 24/7. Go to www.skypetherapy.pro. That's skypetherapy.pro. Quit now.
Yeah, I remember good see that I could do no wrong in my old man's eyes. And I swear that I would try it, oh, before the day I die. You say you're you.
welcome back. Thanks for joining us again here at Vibrations. Look, we've been having some wonderful conversations in the gap, and Human Being Day, I guess, has been the driving force as it is soon. Well, it is nearing the date. It's now the 8th of October. So as you'll see, we're all wearing the Human Being Day cap. If you would like to purchase your own Human Being Day cap, this is the only product that I have placed on as a marketing tool. And what you get with this Human Being Day cap is a breakdown, a little bit more of an insight to what the movement is about, just in succinct that word. Succinct form. It's my trip up word. And so if you hop on to shop, if you go onto the Human Being Day website, there's another way in which you can demonstrate your contribution and your understanding and your action around it. Is just like and share the Human Being Day page. All you have to do is Google or Facebook. Either way, there is only one Human Being Day movement, and you'll come to my page. I think it's it's either the first or second on Google. And when you get to that page, you'll see that the website actually will lead you to being able to purchase one of these hats. And what you get with these hats is also is the breakdown, like I mentioned, but also a print, which will allow for you to repurpose a T-shirt that's already out, that you already own, rather than keeping into the, because I'm really clear that the marketing side of things is not something that I'm up for. I've got to.
We don't need more in the world.
No, we don't need more of that in the world. I am clear that the hat came from De Bono. He was a theorist, and from my education background, De Bono's thinking hats was something that really resonated for me when I was a teacher. I took that concept and I had the children wearing glasses so that they would look through the colours and the different behaviours that surface when they're in that, so they were able to act in that space. And the same concept works in the space of the thinking hats. And so it is the only piece of merchandise that I must stand for Human Being Day, and it will always stay in that space. I'm not interested in marketing it in any other way, because I think that we do get caught up in the commercial element.
For sure.
Look, and I don't want to make anyone wrong, and I don't want even to make this wrong. I'm interested actually how that lands for you guys in the space of just having one product.
I love it, and I think putting on the whole theory of like putting on a cap and then you embody that consciousness. I love that idea and that design. I love the color, the orange, and not only are we putting on a mindset cap, a cap of consciousness, but we're also, it's quite functional because Human Being Day is going to be sunny. We need the hat.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
it's
beautiful.
functional, and I think, putting on the consciousness cap.
Yeah, positive
It's just,
consciousness.
how cool is that?
It's also really celebrating the human, I think, taking on what you both said as well, is just when you look at the amount of stuff that we're creating in the world, I have to say it seems unsustainable. Like all these different companies that are pumping out more plastic every single day. It's not, is it serving us in the long term? So I think that's really interesting, you bringing that additional point. There's so many points you've already brought up, Dave, as we all have, Freya, Jess, myself, all of us. But yeah, just really having that focus on the human. It just fits, the consciousness of what this is that's being created is contributing to you in such a way that, yeah, definitely the marketing, of course, there's got to be an element of it, but to have it not be just about stuff, but about being about the human, it's just so on point.
And I love that there's a rainbow spectrum of colour on it as well, because it's incorporating the full spectrum of humanity and of creation.
Absolutely, and I've got to give a big shout out to Jackie at Eclipse. She is the woman that just is in the creation of designing all of my logos. When you head over to the Human Being Day page, it's in the Creative Footprints, which is the business that I run, or Create Footprints rather, and you'll see that she's just a magician when it comes to it. And in fact, when it comes to the vibration logo, Russell and I were in creation of that. We were in back and forth with that to create what you'll currently see on the website. And what's coming is a beautiful competition to allow our listeners to be in the creation. There are 6, I think, little logos that have been provided for us or designed for us, and I'm in the space of allowing for that to be placed out there. I'm popping that out there. I've asked Jackie if that's okay, and Eclipse are allowing me to have our listeners and our Facebook members vote for the logo. You get to choose.
You, the human being, get to choose.
Yeah.
Love it.
Wow.
So it's really beautiful, and it's really so. Look, I can't express or really. I forget the word. The word has just eluded me, but I can't put more focus on the need to really use what is at our disposal to be the driver for this. Because without you, there is no day. Because without so I know that people are in the action in so many different ways, and people are really confident in the space of Facebook and in the space of sharing their meals, and in the space of sharing their beautiful outfit, and in the space of sharing how beautiful it is for them. So
I've got something really cool to share,
Yeah,
if it's
cool.
okay.
Great.
So Dave has been in the world of, I think earlier in the show, Kat mentioned doing a kind deed a day, or it was actually 2 or 3 a day. And every day leading up to Human Being Day, he's been in the works of just incredible stuff. Like we had a guest come over from another country who was supplying me with amazing organic goods to heal people's bodies, and he had to fly out in a hurry, and Dave came in to collect the stock for myself, and he realized the Airbnb was a mess. So he came in and he cleaned it and he made it all neat and tidy, and I said, Dave, you didn't have to do that. We don't have time. What are you doing? And he goes, no, it's just I do one kind thing a day. And he was actually really present to how triggered I was and really did a U-turn for me. And it wasn't just that. He's returned trolleys for older people. Gardens for his friends that just couldn't get the gardens done in time. And he went and did it, even though he's running multiple businesses and running a shop and all this kind of stuff. So he's made a contribution consciously at least 3 times a day to doing good deeds and not asking for anything in return, or not even expecting anything in return. And it's just such a beautiful space. So I wanted to make that really clear to everyone that's listening, because it's been something cool to witness.
And that's the definition of giving, isn't it? You know, again, that's another one of those constructs we have in our society that we've stepped up into. It's like, if I do this for you, you'll do this for me. And the idea of giving isn't actually, there's always seems to be strings attached, right? So that concept of really giving and being in that heart space of doing it because ultimately you know that it's actually good for you.
Yeah.
And then you experience the joy. And then you get all this amazing feedback, because look how joyful Jess is about it.
Yeah.
And,
no, thank you for
you
that,
know,
Jess.
it's
That's
beautiful.
a wonderful share.
That's giving.
And look, it's in the space of, look, it's what really makes my heart sing. And it's very difficult in the human condition that has the expectation that there's something to follow. And I'm clear that I just... I'm in the space. If I've got time, then I want to be the contribution that I want to see in the world. I want to be the demonstration that I want to see in the world, and I can continually come back to source, come back to core, come back to self, and look at who am I being, and in this moment, and who am I being in that moment, and how did that honor me? And like you were talking about before, the softness, the weight, and when it feels light, then it just you just keep following the light, and there's something beautiful in that. And from being in a space of darkness, there was only one way to go. I was stuck in the shadow, and there was only one place to go, was follow the light, and follow the light. And then just what I realized is that what my parents and all of those generations that went before them, is what they gave me is this beautiful heart that is so full. And it is my bank account, and that's the one that really rings out for me, is I've got this big heart, and it's big enough for every single human being. And so when I come up against something that doesn't honor me, I have to look at why I'm triggered by what's going on, which is the source of all of the stuff that I create.
No, it's a beautiful point, Dave, and I think that's gorgeous, the acts that you did. But I want to break it down even further and invite our listeners to look at even the smallest things you can do that can make such a massive impact. You don't have to go and do huge things. That's wonderful if you feel called to do so, and please do. But literally, let's just break it down to even starting with smiling at someone.
Beautiful.
Smiling, connecting eyes with someone, and just smiling. Number one, that's one thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing you can do already in that day, because that's already an act of love, is to be present with someone. Like, how often during the day have you got so many things running through your mind that you cannot even be present with a loved one? You know, you're just running from task to task and doing the human doing rather than the human being. So starting with that, even in your mind, like they say, namaste, the meaning of that is I see the divine within you. Even when you meet someone new and shake their hand or something like that, to just say namaste in your mind, you know, without saying it aloud, it's already acknowledging the presence of another, which I think is sort of the heart of what we're talking about today. So it's really just being a human, is acknowledging other humans and acknowledging creation. So it can be really that simple. So just doing that every day is just saying that you acknowledge the divine within another, saying namaste in your head, just connect and smile at someone. That's already one act that you do. And just imagine lots of people doing that. You know, like all of us have shared our different challenges today, including Russell. And so just something like that could totally change the trajectory for someone's life, is to just connect with them and show them that they have meaning. They're not a zero. They're not a nothing. They are something, something amazing, something magical.
Yeah.
That just really brought up this beautiful poem that I learnt when I was a little kid.
Wow.
Smile a while, and while you smile, another smiles, and soon there's miles and miles of smiles. And life's worthwhile because you smile.
Oh,
Yes.
love it.
Wow.
Love it. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love that.
Very beautiful. And that's how
That's
simple it can
you.
be.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
that's shining a light. That's shining a light with your teeth.
Yeah.
On another.
Yeah.
And it costs you nothing.
It doesn't. And it gives much. That reminds me of my
gives
grandma.
much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What
Beautiful.
I've noticed too, Dave, is even when you don't have time, since we're in cost and bank accounts, even when you don't have time though, you've masterfully created how you can contribute to someone with cash.
Yeah.
Maybe not cash, but like, buy something that's needed, or it's just been so amazing to see you bypass that, because I know that there was a moment where you were like, money racket,
Yeah, yeah.
I can't.
Racket. That's it. So that money trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've just
It's a
seen you unfold as human being days coming closer and closer. I've just seen you unfold like a beautiful flower, and it's just I just wanted to
And the gift
contribute
in
that.
that is rather than being shackled by what's so, and just moving into the desired space and bringing that into the now. And what I mean by that is, I want to go on holiday and I don't have the money for it. So what's possible if I say I'm going on holiday? What's possible in that space when you just shift that?
Yeah.
Then if you're in that space, then you're committed
figure
to
out
it. It
how
becomes your
later.
now. Yeah, that's right.
Isn't it like one of the... Oh, were you going to say something, Fred?
Because where your attention goes,
Energy
energy
flows.
flows.
That's
Yeah.
right. Beautiful.
And even Anthony Robbins said there's not a resource problem, there's a resourcefulness problem. So it's looking at changing your state of mind to one where you start to ask questions, you start to be utilizing your mind, which is so powerful, your consciousness that you've been given, to utilize that to create things. Like someone said even the other day, I was listening to another podcast, because I love listening to different things, and this guy was saying basically about the invisible world and the visible world. And so we're so in the visible, we sometimes forget that everything started with the spark of an idea, and it's a thought. It's from the intangible, and we bring it into the tangible. So really, you have everything you need right now. It's literally using your thoughts and using your mind and connecting into energies that can contribute to you and to bring something forth from that. So really, there's no excuses to be languishing in feeling like you're not enough, because you already are, and you can get to work and get started with creating magic right now.
And the truth of the matter is that the human body that we see, the bit that we look at, is the smallest part of who we are. It's the tip on the branch of the tree of life that each of us is. We're the fruit, right? So we've got our meridians and chakras and all of those wonderful things, our aura. And let's just take it away from woo-woo for everyone. Let's just make that really nice and grounded and simple. So if you think of the aura as a container, and the outside of that is the skin of your physical body, and the chakras, there's no word in English that will describe that, as an organ. And then if you think of the meridians as the arteries, the veins and the capillaries. Then we have a even bigger emotional body and mental body, and then we have a spirit body, and then we have all of creation. So there's that much more of you. You are vast beyond what you've even dared to allow yourself to connect with yet. And even those of us who are lit up and having these conversations, we're much more vast than we've even let ourselves conceive of yet.
If we look at what was possible in the past.
That's it.
Yeah. We don't have to live in that space, but we can learn from it.
And if you are in a place of depression or pain or homelessness or any of those things, the question is really like, what classroom am I in? Because I'm in Earth School. What am I here? What is my spirit trying to get me to learn? Just like Dave did. What a credit to you that you could see what the difference between 0 and O. Right?
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got what was there on the ground floor.
That's it.
And so those of you who are there, just remember, just look that little bit further. Just look that little bit deeper into you, and you'll see it reflected in the physical world around you and the way that the energy of creation works for you.
And please don't be and especially with me, look, I do have time, and I do have healing modalities at my disposal, and I do create what's possible. So if you are finding that you're in a dark space and there is something that you are connected with, the one thing that we all seem to be able to find the space for is a phone.
Yes.
And we all seem to be able to connect to that. And if you don't, head on down to the library. It's free to join, and there's a computer there. What I ask you to do, or urge you to do, is to jump onto Facebook, look up Human Being Day, and that'll connect you to me. And I just say reach out. Look, and I'll always be in the contribution where I can be. I don't want to overpromise, but I'm creating a life outside of the space of needing to use the healing for financial gain. I have a koha system, which is a Māori term for just allowing what's possible in your space to create a union and a connection. And then I just, look, I'm a real contribution to what's possible. So please reach out.
Do that. And also there's a little handy button on our Facebook page. It's called share. Share share it to your day. Share it to your day, because people tune into those. They don't have time to look at your page, so people just share stuff on their day now, and people click on them because they pop up in Messenger, and let's face it, we're all on Messenger. So check out Human Being Day, share it, give it the love that we're giving it, and embrace this day, embrace all of what it can be being a human being. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vibrations, another episode, and please peace out.
Yeah,
Beautiful week.
This has been a Radio Media Production 2019. For more shows like this, head over to radiomedia.com.au or head over to DRN1.com.
Gotta get you some water.